Welcome to the Royal Flush Podcast, Episode 1. On this episode, we have our founder and owner, Jim Watson, who talks about his history, traveling around the world, coming to America, and starting Royal Flush Pipelining. So a couple key points that Jim hits on that I think are fantastic to review for anybody in life and business. The first is Jim's willingness to take risks and what those risks end up rewarding. And then secondly, his willingness and appetite for always investing cash and money back into himself and the business. Take a listen, like, subscribe. Hope you enjoy it. Check out this episode. All right, we are here with the founder, originator, and owner of Royal Flush Pipelining, and a man near and dear to my heart, my father-in-law.
Thank you.
Jim Watson. Now, for those of you who might not be able to understand Jim,
oh yeah, here we go.
You can hear that amazing Scottish accent.
Yep, haven't lost it yet, John.
Jim, that's where I want to start. I think you have an amazing story, a true American dream story. So I want you to take us back to a little boy in Scotland. Tell me what it was like growing up there. What was your childhood like?
All right, John, we're going to go back quite a few years here, John. 1957, I don't know if anybody knows about 1957. Anyway, that's a long, long time ago. So I was born in 1957 in a place called Motherwell, Scotland. I was brought up there. There was six siblings in the family, 6 of us all together.
Wow.
And we didn't have much, but, you know, we enjoyed ourselves. They're great. My mother and father was fantastic people, fantastic. Anyway, I went into the plumbing when I was 16.
Okay.
So I took a course in plumbing and I decided I wanted to do the plumbing. So I did a 4-year course in plumbing. I got my apprenticeship.
Now, why plumbing? Did you try anything else? Did you try roofing, raking leaves? Like what?
Well, tell the truth, the first 6 months of the course was specialising in different trades like electrical, plumbing, painting, plastering, and I decided to try the plumbing. I loved it. I love working with my hands. I love working with pipes and stuff like that. Okay. So I took that the second 6 months. I took that course, and then I got an apprenticeship, John. Mm-hmm. With a company in Worcester, Scotland. So I went there.
So like an internship almost, like for us today.
Yeah. I got an apprenticeship and I was with those guys for 4 years. I got my master's over there. Mm-hmm. And then from there I went into pipe fitting and instrumentation fitting. I loved that. It was hydraulics, lines and stuff like that. So I did that for a few years. And then I met a beautiful lady, John.
I'm very familiar with this lady.
Absolutely fantastic lady. Mm-hmm. Her name is Janice Mackay, right? Good Scottish name actually, you know. So Janice and I started dating, and we fell in love, John. Mm-hmm. So we decided to get married in 1978.
How old were you?
I was 21 and Janice was 18. I actually met Janice, believe it or not, I shouldn't be saying this over the air, but anyway, I met Janice around about 17. I think she was 17 at the time. So, but as I say, she was a wonderful lady. So the two of us get married. And I had a friend that was over in South Africa. I didn't know he was over there, actually. He actually wrote me a letter, because that's what email and stuff like that was text. You couldn't do that then. So he sent us a letter and he says to me, Jim, why don't you come over? He was a plumber. And he was working for the Building Federation of South Africa. And Janice and I got excited with the whole thing. We decided, let's give it a try, because what have we got to lose? We're only in our 20s. I was 20, she was 18. So I wrote a letter back to him, and then we went in for the interview in Glasgow, and we sat down. The two of us sat down. It was the easiest interview you'd ever imagine, John. It was just, they asked you a couple of questions, and you were in the country.
Now this is an interview to move to South Africa.
To move to South Africa, yeah. My parents were very disappointed. They were really, really heartbroken. The minute you brought the subject up, if you were sitting with them about us immigrating to South Africa, there was tears in their eyes.
Oh, really?
Oh, it was terrible. Really, really bad. So anyway, so we decided to move, and we were in, the day we were flying out, we had at least 20 relatives at the airport with us to see us off, and my mother made us an apple pie.
Okay.
To brought it in
take on the plane?
Take on the plane was in yeah. But anyway, Janice and I were we made an arrangement that we'd just look at each other and decide we'll go to the bathroom. So we nipped off, but we never come back. And they were all sitting in the airport waiting on us. But we couldn't tell them we were leaving. We were just so upset. Yeah. And I think most of the flight, it was a 13-hour flight over there to South Africa. Yeah. And I think Janice cried the whole 13 hours.
I believe it.
She was really pretty upset. So anyway, we arrived in Johannesburg in a place called, what was it called again now? Well, it was at Johannesburg itself. And we moved into this hotel. They put us up in this hotel. and I went to work for the Building Federation of South Africa.
Okay. Which is, what would you equivalent that to here? Is that like working for the state? Would that be working for like a housing authority? What is
well,
that
working for a big housing authority. They were building houses. There was a shortage of houses over in South Africa. They needed, the demand was like 20,000 houses a day they needed to supply, but it's just you never catch up to that supply, that demand anyway. So anyway, I started off with them. I didn't like the job. I didn't like the conditions. We were working in compounds surrounded by fences and stuff like that, and security guards were everywhere watching us. What makes sure we're safe because in these compounds. So anyway, I went for an interview with a hospital with a company called Clinic Holdings in South Africa. They own 3 private hospitals, pharmaceutical companies, properties all over Johannesburg. Wow. So I went for the interview and I got the job, and I ended up in charge of the 3 private hospitals, and I thoroughly enjoyed it. The experience I got was unbelievable, unbelievable experience. So anyway, I worked with them for about roughly 5 years, and then I decided to go on my own.
Okay.
That was challenging, but it was exciting. Janice and I was both excited about the whole thing. And then I was in the business for 2 or 3 years, and then all of a sudden, my sister-in-law approached me and says to me, there's a lottery going to America, you can apply for it. She says, do you want to try it? I goes, I'll just try it. So anyway, we filled it in, Janice and I filled the application form and sent it in.
It was just like a postcard you made?
Just like a postcard, sent it in. And a year and a half later, we forgot all about the whole thing. So a year and a half later, they says to me, you have until, this was around about February, in 81 it was, 91. And she says to me, excuse me for a second here to think, you have got a chance to come into America. Do you want to come in? So this was around about February, and it would only to get in by July.
Okay, she had like 3-4 months down.
Yeah, so we to sell the house and everything else. But anyway, so we get into America anyway, and we flew over here, moved into The reason we came to Rhode Island is because Janice's aunts lived in Rhode Island, and Jade was 7 at the time, and Mark was only 4.
Yeah.
So we felt safe if we felt a lot better knowing that her aunts were there, because you hear all these stories about different things. But anyway, so we come over here, and I got a job with a lady master plumber. She owned the business, and so I worked with them, prevailing wages. But they weren't paying me the proper wages because I didn't have any paperwork from the States. So anyway, I went with them, and then I decided I wanted to go on my own, John. I didn't have the license at the time, so I opened up a drain cleaner company. So I opened up the company. Then I had to go and sit the test. Rhode Island wouldn't even let me sit the test. No, I just wanted to sit the test, the journeyman's test. They wouldn't says no, we can't allow you to do it. So I went in front of the board in Boston, and I met with the guys there on the board in Boston. They say to me, listen, Jim, what to do is go to Brockton's College for a whole year, do the course there for a year, and we'll let you sit the journeyman's test. So I did that. And I passed the journeyman's test, and then I had to, then I could approach Rhode Island and say, listen, I've got a license from another state. Do you mind if I come in and sit the test? So I did that anyway, and I got my journeyman's Rhode Island. I got my journeyman's in Mass, and then I went back to Mass and got my Massachusetts, and I did the same in Rhode Island. And then that way John, it was the most exciting part of my life, because I could take that stupid drain cleaning sign off my truck and put Royal Flush Plumbing. Okay. I said, I am coming to get you guys. I'm ready for you now.
What year was this?
That was, the year was, I think that was 91, 91, 92, something like that. I can't remember the exact dates. But I was so excited, and, because as I say, it's just a big achievement for me. And I knew I had to do something because the kids were young. Yeah. And I says, there's no way I could survive on apprenticeship wages.
Sure.
So off we went. So we started the business.
So this was the infancy and the start of Royal Flush.
This was the start of Royal Flush Plumbing.
You got your formal licenses. Now you could be an actual plumber.
I could be an actual plumber. I'm ready to run with it, John. And I says, I'm determined. And you know what, John? Being an immigrant, and all immigrants over here, they have a sense of drive, John. They're really driven, I think, these immigrants that come over to this country, because they see the opportunities all around you. It's just that when you stay here for a long time, it disappears, but it's there. If you look right about it, it's a fantastic country. America is a place to to start a business on, and you know that. It's just
well, one of the things I want to harp on, if I can interrupt you for a
Yeah,
second,
definitely.
is I think your perception and ability to take risks is like nobody I've ever met in my entire life. And so you just talked about how you moved from Scotland to Africa like it was nothing.
Yeah.
And I think anybody who's listening to this around the world would be scared to death to make that move. And that risk, you just assessed it, looked at it, and said, this is the right thing to do, let's do it.
Well, you know what it is, John, you're young. In your 20s, there's no fear.
Yeah.
You would do anything in your 20s and think nothing of it. Try doing that when you're in your 50s or 60s.
Yeah.
It's a different story. You dwell over it all the time. But as I say, you just go on with it and just did it, and that was it.
Yeah. And then what about the risk of coming now from Africa to America? Was that you were a little bit older.
Yeah.
Was the perception of that risk any different to you? Was it more excitement? Was it, because you did establish a life for yourself in Africa?
Right. I think it was very, very exciting to come over here. As I say, we'd been a few times, John, on vacation before we actually went from Scotland a couple of times to America. We flew from Prestwick Airport in Scotland right into Boston, and we stayed with Janice's aunt. And I loved it, but I never imagined in my life that I was going to be living in America, because we never thought about that, you know.
Yeah.
And so it was so exciting. But to come over here and start a business was a great opportunity for us. I think it was fantastic.
And now you didn't deem that to be risky either, right? I feel like in your mind, from the stories you've told me, there was no other options. That was what you were meant to do.
That's what I was meant to do, and to live in the street around the corner from where we actually live with Janice's aunt. It was the craziest thing out. But we managed that's what it was meant to be, John, and that was just it.
Yeah.
And then what did we do after that? We started the business. Okay, we started Royal Flush, which was I employed a few guys here and there, casual workers. I love doing service work, John.
Yes.
I love doing service work. Fault finding, things like that. They got me excited to find a reason to find these faults. And I was very excited with the whole thing.
Yeah. So let's talk about what, that phone rang. What do you think separated you from the other Tom, Dick, or Harry plumbing around town? What do you think, besides your great Scottish accent?
Yeah.
What was something that allowed you to get in the door, get these jobs, and be busy all the time? Because you were busy from the day you started that business.
Yeah.
Forever. So tell me what you think was the difference and what made you different.
Well, I think probably the accent definitely got you in the door. There's no
Yes.
doubt about that. People were interested in the accent. That definitely opened a few doors. So anyone coming over here from Scotland or Ireland or whatever you may be, you have got the accent, you can make a fortune over here. So, but I think that got me in the door. Plus, it offered a service, John.
Yes.
I had my phone attached to my hip 24 hours a day, John. And Janice, she helped me. I mean, she's a fantastic lady, honestly. She's the rock of the whole business, John, is my wife. Definitely, there's no doubt about it. She deserves everything. And as I say, I just offered that service, John. When the phone rang, I answered it. I got out there and I did the job.
Yep.
And I backed up everything I did. If there was a problem with the job, I was there. And I was there weekends, nights, and everything. I gave up everything for this, John. I really did. I worked hard at it. And as I say, I think today's paid off.
Absolutely. I think what you did, Jim, is you differentiated yourself from everybody else by doing something really small and simple, but most people don't do it.
Right.
And you set the foundation for not only this business, but your family.
Right.
And giving a great service, doing what's right, picking up the phone, being attentive.
Yeah.
And that led to everything that happened in the future for this business.
Exactly.
And so, all right, so that's 1993. Let's say it's 2000. Where are you at in the business? Do you have one guy? You have two guys? You're still doing service work. Is there anything else that's kind of piquing your interest at this point? Are you still, picking up the phone, changing water heaters? Where do you think the business is around 2000, say 23 years ago?
Well, 23 years ago, I had a couple of guys working for me, and then we started doing a lot more bathrooms and renovations. I thoroughly enjoyed that. I love to renovate bathrooms and stuff like that. Mostly bathrooms, not as much the kitchens, but the bathrooms. So we would take it from. We'd get in there and we'd demo the whole bathroom. We'd do the whole thing ourselves. And, I'd bring in the guys and, I'd start tiling. I'd do tiling on the floor if I had to do some tiling.
Yep.
I tried everything. I hung the sheetrock. So we started really getting into the bathrooms at the end of it, and that then from there, Mark decided to come into the business, which was a big asset, was Mark.
So what year was that? So obviously Mark Your son-
2006, I think it was,
so
John.
he's going to be 36 in a couple
So,
of days.
36, so 18 years ago.
And we know he always helped when he was younger anyway, right?
John, he was standing by my side when he was only about 12 or 13, John.
Yeah.
He really was. I'll never forget the day, John, I took him in the basement and the guy cut the check for me. And he was only maybe say about 12 or 13 at the time, and he's tugging at my shirt and he says to me, Dad, can I get a set of rollerblades now? Now you've got the check. But he was fantastic. He was with me, and I took him he would go to Duncan. We do a lot of work, John, for restaurants, Chili's, Friendly's, Olive Gardens. And I would take him on the job with me, and he was only about 14 or 15 at the time, and we'd go to Friendly's. Well, Friendly's was always nighttime, John.
Yeah.
We used to do that always at night. And Mark would be sitting in the restaurant, sitting in a chair, eating ice cream. He just loved it. So, but as I say, he grew up with me in the business. He learned the business, but then we moved on. You know where we went from there.
Absolutely.
The best thing we ever did, John, was went down to the WWETT Show.
Yeah. So take me back. Give me the time, the year, the date. What made you go, and what was that moment that you saw that you were like, hold on, I think things are going to change.
Well, that was run about what was run about 7 or 8. I think it's 8 years ago, John. We've been
So we're talking maybe 2015.
2015. We went down to the WWETT Show. We flew down to the WWETT Show. John, that was an eye-opener. I would say if anybody wants to grow their business, they have to go to one of these shows. Because they are absolutely fantastic. You learn so much. So we went down to the show to buy a drain clean machine, John, high-pressure drain clean machine. Okay. And the one that we looked at, we're going to buy, we've seen it online, we go down and look at it. John, it was a piece of crap.
Yeah,
sorry about that, but
you went in there and you had a plan. This is the one we like.
You
saw it, and what happened?
Yeah, this was the one I wanted. And I looked through it, John, I went like that, and I says, Mark, this is a piece of crap. I says, the nuts and bolts are going to fall off the things that were driving this thing. So anyway, we looked at another one, and it was double the price.
Okay.
I'll never forget that day. So we went and looked at it, and it looked beautiful. And I says, Mark, this is the one. He says, you sure? And I says, this is one, Mark. So anyway, I cut the guy the check. We went for lunch. I looked across at Mark, and he was white. I says, what's wrong? Dad, you've just spent X amount of money in this drain clean machine. Are you sure are you sure we're going to do it? I says, Mark, It's going to work. Don't worry about it. It's going to work. John, we got that machine delivered. The first day I had 5 jobs lined up. I was calling my customers and asking them, do you mind if we come out and do your drain for you with the jet machine? So we were so busy with that drain. The day the guy came out and demoed the machine, I had 5 jobs lined up for him.
Ready to go.
Ready to go, no hesitation. I knew right away we were onto something really good, and that was it. But as I say, Mark, he's a big asset. But his eyes opened up, John. He was just.
So Mark was a big driver of that. He's younger. He obviously liked the service end of the work, but I think he wanted something a little bigger and different, right?
He did.
And the story that you've always told me of you sitting down and him turning white. I think one of the great things about you, Jim, is not only the risk, but the risk that you're willing to take with the financial end of things.
Yeah.
I've never seen anybody willing to spend money like you spend money.
I know.
In a very weird way, right? So Jim will spend hundreds of thousands of dollars on a piece of equipment. But if we want a sandwich, it's only going to be $5. But your willingness to reinvest over and over and over again in equipment and technology and people, I think, again, that's something that's very, very different from any other businesses, whether it's plumbing or not. A lot of people
hold on to what they've got.
They
do. They hold on. It's the wrong thing to do, John.
When we're going to assess something, whether we're pricing out this piece of wood, you have A, B, or C. Let's get B or C. You are always pushing. Sometimes I think to a detriment. You are always pushing. Let's get the best.
Yeah.
No matter what, and that's something that's unique to a lot of people.
Yeah, John, you got to invest in the best person to invest in yourself. That's the bit. And let me tell you another. Go back a little bit. I met a guy in Walmart one day, and he says to me, "Jim, how you doing?" He's a big businessman, in fact. He's really wealthy. He's a nice guy. He's in East Providence here, in the insurance business. And he says to me, "Jim, is Mark working with you?" I says, "Yeah." He says to me, "Jim, your best investment is your son."
Yep.
And John, that's true. 100%. He's been a great investment.
Oh yeah.
It really is. And the thing about him, John, about Mark, he has a vision.
He does.
And he's young. And you don't have that. I mean, you're that age, John. You have so many visions when you're that age.
Oh, yeah.
You just got to run with it. And I trust him 100%. It seems I trust you. I mean, you come into the company, fantastic. I couldn't ask for any better the day you come into this company. It's fantastic. But as I say, he was a great asset to the building, so the business. So we bought the machine, and then we decided to get into patching.
Okay. Yeah. So the jetting machine was kind of like one little seed, right? Just one
That's
little
it. One
piece.
little piece of
and
the
that
puzzle,
opened
John.
your eyes to, hey, this whole drain cleaning kind of pipeline. We've seen it. We think it's cool. We think we can get into it. So the first step we did was patching, right? So tell me about.
So we're down at the show and we get some machine in and we're walking around the show and that kind of stuff. And then we seen a company that was doing the patching, you know, the stent repairs.
Yep.
And, you know, I think at that time it was like $4,500 or something like that. And we says, hey, why don't we invest that as well? We've got some extra cash here left. Didn't have much left after all that money we spent. So anyway, we put the money down in that, and that was the start of it, John. Mm-hmm. I mean, again, I had the guy come out. It was Chad, in fact, come out. Chad's a wonderful guy. Chad, if you listen to this, you're a fantastic guy, 100%. Chad came out there, John. And I'll never forget the day he came out there, John. He came out with his fancy jeans on and his nice shirt. And I says, is this guy going to change into overalls or something like that? Because he set the table, he put the table across here, and put the plastic, just the way he did it. And he set it up. And he mixed the resin. Not a drop on him, John. I was totally amazed how this guy never spilt anything. Mm-hmm. So anyway, he came out. John, again, had 4 or 5 jobs lined up when Chad came out. Yep. What a day we had with it. So that really started off from there. And then Mark approached us and says, let's do the full lining. Yep. John, at the beginning, I'm going to tell you something. It was a struggle, by the way. Yeah. It was definitely a struggle. Because we bought the material from before we knew Chad and that kind of stuff. They came out, we bought all the machine, been down to a show, they had a show running there. So we went down there, Chicago, I think it was. I'll say Chicago anyway. And then we went down there and went and we bought the equipment off the guys. And then the guy came out, they charged us to come out and do the first lining job. Yep. So the guy comes out and does the first lining job. Now we have the whole all dug, all prepped, everything gone, liner all gone. The guy came out and he screwed up, John. He screwed up. Do you know what he did? Anyway, I don't know if should I be saying this?
Course, yeah.
Of course, that's it. I mean, if he's listening, it's listening.
Yeah, we're just telling the truth.
But I'll not mention any names, by the way, because, I mean, everyone deserves a second chance, I believe. So anyway, he came out there and he screwed with the whole lot dog, all prepped up. And here's us with these big trailers that says, trenchless technology, no digging. No digging, you know, and the neighbours are all looking at, who is this guy, you know? So anyway, he comes out there and he shoots a liner. And John, he screwed up. Mm-hmm. Oh, John. So anyway, the guy, he says, man, I need to go to the bathroom. I goes, that's okay. You'll have to go to Dunkin' Donuts up the road or something like that. We're down in the middle of Riverside there on the water. So anyway, he goes to the bathroom. Johnny disappears for an hour and a half. I says, I do the guy's on the phone to his wife, breaking her heart and he must have been telling her about all the stories. Anyway, comes back again. We had to end up digging the driveway up, John.
This is the very first job we ever did.
The very first job we did. And Brent Dexter, who lives around the corner, he passed by and goes, what's going on, Jim? I says, Brent, I said, I'm in a bit of bind here, by the way. I say, any chance you can maybe help us out? And this was a Saturday. Mm-hmm. He says, certainly I'll do that for you, Jim, not a problem, he says. So he ran back to his house, picked up the machine, that kind of stuff, went to his shop actually, got the machine, he dug the hole. Mm-hmm. We managed to get the liner back out. It's all crumpled up, John. Yep. Managed to get it out. Anyway, we fixed it. Not a big deal. We ended up having to do the women's driveway. Yep. Well, the pipeline supply chipped in some of the money, so we went 50-50. I said, just do 50-50, let's fix the women's driveway. The most important thing, John, is to keep the customer happy, no matter what it costs you. Yep. You have to bend over backwards sometimes to make sure that they're satisfied, John. At the end of the day, they've got to be satisfied. Yep. And you don't want a bad repetition.
Yeah. So the very first job we did in pipeline and we failed, were you scared to move forward at that time? What was were you like, hey, this isn't what we thought it would? Or you said, you know what, it is what it is, we got to move forward and do it again? Yeah, we got to do it again. I was a bit nervous at first. I mean, it was a little bit nervous, but then we moved forward a little bit. We did a good few jobs. But the whole thing is that the training was bad, John. Mm-hmm. If you don't train anyone up, you're never going to get it right, John. Absolutely. Your guys are only as good as you train the guys, John. Mm-hmm. You know that, right? So this guy had no idea. He was a sales rep. He wasn't a trainer. He wasn't there to train. He really wasn't. I mean, honestly. But anyway, so that was pipeline supply. I think that was a shooter. It was called that machine. Oh, if anybody's listening, I don't buy that machine. Don't buy the shooter. Anyway, so we had a lot of problems with that machine, John. It was an absolute nightmare. And we were cooking. We were mixing the resin A and B, part A and B. And I was in charge of mixing the stuff. That was my job, John. Yep. That was mixing. I'm just standing aside and the guys are doing the thing. So I'd mix the resin, we pour it inside the pipe, we get it inside the shooter, and then we shoot the liner down there, John.
you had 3 hours now before it cured. 3 hours seems a long time, but it's not really
There's
once
a
you
race
start.
against the clock, right?
Yeah, because you're trying to get the air out the liner, you're vacuuming the liner and that kind of stuff. So anyway, and we were using hot water, John.
Mm-hmm.
We made up our own hot water system, hot water boilers. You know what, we've seen it there before. And we'd leave the shop in the morning, we'd test all the equipment, we'd get to the job and the equipment wouldn't work. John, it was an absolute nightmare. The stress level was probably 9.5 or 9.75, John.
Mm-hmm.
It was so stressful at the
I
beginning.
remember you telling me stories of you guys not sleeping the night before a job.
No.
Trying to run through every scenario, what could happen, what backup do we need, what to do.
Well, here's the thing: the amount of many backups you had, John, you never had enough.
Yeah.
Because there was always something breaking down. It was just mechanical things were breaking down. It was just not working. As I say, the stress level was really, really bad. At one point, I thought we were going to throw the thing out the window. I says, get this thing. I don't know if I can do this. I mean, because I was in my late 50s then, probably something like that. You know what I mean? So at my age, you don't want a lot of stress, John, at that age, And I'm sure Mark was pretty stressed out. But anyway, the best thing we ever did was went to UV light, John.
Absolutely. So where did you see that? Did you guys aware of it? Did somebody bring that technology to you to understand what it was? How did you guys?
Well,
decide?
I think it was Mark approached me. I was at the time we bought the equipment. I think I was in Florida, and Mark says to me, "There's a UV system, you know."
Yep.
In fact, the guys actually came to the shop when we were in Route 6 to do a test.
Gotcha.
They brought the machine. I was very, very impressed with it, John. I thought, this is it. This has got to be the machine.
Yeah.
And today, this is a fantastic machine.
Yeah.
So I was in Florida at the time, on vacation down there, and Mark says, I've got the machine, and he ran with it from there. He did a fantastic job.
Another state-of-the-art piece of equipment that was
Fantastic.
over $100,000.
Over 100,000.
That you were not afraid to invest in because
No.
you knew that equipment would change our perception of lining and how productive we could be, right?
Just invest in yourself, John. If you see something, it's better than putting your money in stocks and shares and CDs. Forget all that crap. Just put the money in it yourself and you'll do really well. Because, I mean, and the thing is, we specialised in that type of work. When Martin knew the job inside out.
Yeah.
And he ran with that machine. And to this day, John, it's the best machine we've ever bought.
Absolutely.
And I'm hoping to buy another one.
Yeah,
I've got to convince
definitely.
these two guys, Mark and John.
Yeah, Jim wants to buy a backup one to sit in the shop and do nothing.
Yeah, I want
But
to do that. Yeah,
we
of course.
we're on the verge. We're gonna
Yeah,
get-
we're nearly there. We're nearly
there to get a second unit for production and obviously in case there's a backup.
Exactly.
And then so now let's maybe just rewind to probably I think 2 or 3 years ago, in my opinion, is the line of demarcation where you were still in the business. We were drain cleaning still, really enjoying pipelining, and then we decided to make a shift, right? We were getting so good at pipelining, we felt the profitability was there, the business was growing, and we decided, you know what, we're not going to do drain cleaning anymore.
Yeah.
I remember having this conversation with you.
Yeah, that you know what? That was a real tough one for me to swallow. It was tough.
It was very tough.
It was very tough for me to swallow because, I mean, I was brought up doing drain cleaning and plumbing and installing toilets, and you guys says to me, you know, we got to stop this, and I'm like, you can't, because I had the idea that the drain cleaning got you in the door, and to me that was the best opportunity to sell something, to upsell it, you know.
Yep.
And that, to me, to give up the plumbing, it was a tough call for me, John. It really was.
Yep.
But after I sat down and thought about it, you know, and I had to sort of step back a few steps, and I thought what you guys were saying, it was the right move to do, John.
Yeah.
It was definitely, you have to specialise in that one thing, and you have done that.
Yeah.
And that's where the business is going today. It's just it's never ending.
So again, another thing I think, if we could take a little retrospect, we've got a gentleman who's owned the business for over 30 years, has done basically one way. He's now transitioned to a new technology, and his son and son-in-law are going to him and say, Jim, what you've been doing, we need to stop doing.
Yeah.
Right. So imagine the feelings that you had, but more importantly, from our point of view, the willingness for you to be open to it, and then taking a step back and saying, yeah, you know what, these guys are right. Not many people would do that, Jim.
No, there's not many people who do it. I you know what? I wanted to help Mark. Yeah, I really did. I want to help my grandsons. I want to leave something behind when I do leave. I want them to come into the business. I'm excited with Connor. He's Connor and Jackson. I mean, I just want to be able to see them coming in, and I thought I want to build something that's going to be there for a long time, and I hope it's going to be there for a long time.
Me too.
You can pass it on to whatever you want to, but I just think so. But as I say, buying the equipment, I didn't think twice about spending that kind of money. I just knew it was the right thing.
Yep.
I definitely knew it was the right thing to do. I didn't hesitate, and I was excited about the whole thing.
Yeah, I think, again, we do that demarcation. You purchased the building that we're in about 2 years ago now, and that's when I joined the business. And I really think, as strangely as it is, 4 walls and a roof, this physical address changed everything that we did.
John, I'm going to tell you something. I would drive, because this is the road out here, going up the back road here. This is the way I go home every night, more or less.
Yep.
You're coming off Seacon, come back. And I would drive by this building, John, and it was due the time COVID was here. Remember that COVID thing going on? Anyway, I would drive by, and the building looked empty. And I goes, it has to be because of COVID, because a lot of buildings looked empty in this plaza, this place here, the industrial estate here. And then one day I was driving by, John, and the door was open, and there was a chair, an old chair sitting right down the bottom of the drive, if he was giving the chair away to someone. And I drove by, and I got to the top of the road, and I decided to do a little U-turn, you know, so I come back down the road again, and the doors open, I parked in the driveway, and I went in there, and there was a guy standing there, and I walked up to him, and I says, you interested in selling? Are you selling? Are you moving? He goes, we might be interested in selling. And he threw me a piece of cardboard. He said, I don't have any paper, he says, but just scribble your name on that piece of cardboard there for me. So I put my name on the cardboard and my number on the cardboard. I gave it back to him. Hell of a nice guy. Very, very nice. I knew there was something.
You got a feeling, right?
I got a feeling, right? And I looked round about and I go, I don't know if I can afford this thing. But anyway, 2 weeks later, he called me back. He says, my brother and I would like to meet you in the office. Come in, we'll discuss. You know. So anyway, we come in. I don't know if were you there, John? I'm not sure. No, it was Mark and Janice. So we met the guy. We went into the boardroom. He's got a boardroom in here, fantastic boardroom. So he goes into the boardroom, we sits there, and he says to me, "This is what I'm looking for." And I says, "Well, I can give you this." And then he says, "Well, let's think about it." And then he got back to me and says, "Yeah, we can take it." John, I was so nervous. I really, again, you're always, when you first purchase, especially a purchase like this, and then when I found out what the taxes are in Rhode Island and East Providence, Mr. Mayor, you need to get the taxes down a little bit for us here, by the way. But the taxes were extortionate, and I was like, oh my. But anyway, you know, once you get in, but it's one of the best things we ever did.
Absolutely.
Because we can grow here, and Mark will never outgrow this building. Because, you know, we've got 6.5 acres here. We could extend somewhere along here. And, you know, there's parking here now for like 40, nearly 50 cars for parking here.
Yeah, we were physically and mentally outgrown our old location.
Oh, yeah, John, Route 6. I mean, I can't imagine us even running a business in Route 6 now. And every time I drive by then I say, because we were limited to what the trucks we could have at the building. And they told us straight that, you know, you're only going to be like 2 or 3 trucks, whatever it may be. But to come down here, move into this building, and it's just fantastic. And
it's allowed us to spread our wings.
Fantastic.
In every way possible.
So happy. You know, you get when you move into a building, you get that feeling. You get excited about it. And I was excited about this building, and I'm still excited about the building. I still come down here every night and check the doors, John. You know that.
Oh, I know.
I do. I come down and check the doors, make sure it's all locked up. But as I say, it's been the best asset, and it's allowed us to grow, because otherwise we couldn't grow on Route 6, John.
Absolutely not.
But don't get me wrong, Route 6 was a good start for us, John.
It was a fantastic start.
We were on the main road there on Route 6, Fall River Avenue, and we had a ton of traffic coming down there, plenty of visibility. And I was actually growing the business really rapidly in Seaconk. It was really, had a lot of clientele in Seaconk because we were there. So I can't knock it, John.
No, it's a great problem. To this day, we get calls every day. You guys are the ones on Route 6.
Yeah.
We still get calls every single day.
Well, I don't get any calls, John.
That's
you get them, John.
Anymore.
You get them.
And so, where we are today is an exclusive, solely pipelining company.
Yeah.
We're really transitioning and growing our commercial business, which I think is going to take us to the next level. What you tell me, I know Mark and I have a vision. We obviously talk about it, but you tell me, if we're going to be sitting here 5-10 years from now, recapping this conversation again, what do you envision the next steps for Royal?
Very simple, John. Very simple. We're going to be the biggest pipelining company in New England. That's my bet. That's the way I think we're going to go. And you two guys are going to take it there. I don't doubt that for one moment. I trust you 100%. I'm so excited for you to take it to the next level and take it wherever you want to take it. I'm with you 100%. No matter what it costs, I'm there. I want to see you growing the business. And the way you have grown it now, John, is fantastic. The way you run it is fantastic. I mean, I'd never had the experience like this, the way you're running, and it's fantastic. This podcast's going, you've got this going, SEO's going, you've got sales rep out here. Everybody's working for you, and it's all. Yeah. I see it coming together. I mean, it took me a wee while to understand what's happening. But you know what? Sometimes it's better just to pull yourself back and just listen and watch things happen.
Yeah.
And that's what I've been doing with you guys. You know what I mean? And you and Mark is fantastic.
Yeah. And now, personally, I always like to say people like, hey, what's going on with Jim? I say he's about 97% retired.
Yeah.
And so tell me what you're doing. I know that you've been going down to Florida with Janice, obviously.
Yeah.
What is a day in Jim's life like today?
Babysitting.
That's right. Babysitting my kids.
Your kids, Mark kids, I run after them. I love it. And it's given us more time with them, you know, because when you're bringing up kids your own, like used to are fantastic parents, but when some people bring up kids, you miss a lot, John.
Yeah.
And it's great having those kids run about, and it's great getting them all together. I mean, we're all going to get together tonight. Yep. I mean, for pizzas and what we're going to do tonight. We're going to have a fantastic night. They're going to be in the pool swimming. Yep. Nothing makes me more happier than that. And then Janice and I has been trying to, you know, we travelled last year. We were away 3 times last year. We were in California. Florida first, California, and then where was that after that? I'm trying to think.
I don't remember. Well, you went over to Scotland.
Scotland, Scotland. Yeah, we went to Scotland. We went to Ireland for a beautiful wedding over in Ireland. Then we flew into Scotland, and then we flew over to Italy. And I come back to Scotland, and guess what happened? I caught COVID, John. And I never even got to see my family because
it was in the homeland. That's why.
I caught COVID. But anyway, Janice and I is going to try and use up our time very, very wisely by traveling a lot, having valuable time with our kids, with our grandkids and yous, which is very, very important. That you can never. That's one thing. You've got to cherish that. It's family time together. That's very, very important, by the way. Yeah. And I think that's. But again, I'll go back to Janice again. She's the rock. She's fantastic.
She's the real boss.
She's a real boss.
I don't know. Do you think we could get Janice to sit down with us?
I would love to see. You know what? I'd love to see Janice coming in and doing that. Actually, maybe the threes. A wee conversation between the threes would be fun. Yeah. I think what makes a difference is because you're hearing your voice. By the way, these are fantastic. No, but maybe ask Janice and see if she'll do that. She's not one to be in front of the camera.
No. I like to call Janice a silent assassin.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Anybody who's met Janice, she's a lovely, amazing woman. But I would say she's very, very quiet, right? Can be a little standoffish sometimes. Yeah. But what's going on in that brain behind that quietness is amazing things. Yeah. And she is an incredibly smart woman.
She's definitely smart. Yeah. She's definitely smart.
And we like to joke that Jim's the owner. Janice is the boss.
Janice is probably the boss. Everybody, you listen to Janice, you're probably the boss, by the way. I'm just following behind you.
If we really want to get something done, we really want to spend some money, you're going to approve it, but we got to talk to Janice.
Yeah, we got to talk to Janice. So the three of us talk it over, and then we got to meet up with Janice, and then she'll say, "No, I don't think so." Yeah. But she's definitely the rock of the business. There's no doubt. I don't doubt that for her. I would never be where I am today if it wasn't for her backing us up. Because I mean, she when I was running out before we started the Royal Flush pipeline here, I was doing the plumbing repair. So I mean, she was always looking after the kids. Yep. I mean, I missed everything, John. I really did. I gave up everything for this. Yeah. So these guys are leading the pack now. You're leading the way. Well,
you set the foundation for us, Jim, and hopefully, like it is now with the retirement, all that work that you did is paying off, and you can enjoy all these things. Yeah. And be involved in a little bit. We like to joke that Jim will pop by about 8 times a day. Pop in for 15 minutes, see what's going on, pop back out.
Take a walk around the shop, make sure things are
going.
And
we try to give you some projects to keep you a little busy, right?
I love it. I'm doing a lot of carpentry work now, John. I'm building some shelves for you guys for all the bins, the screw bins and stuff like that. I'm going to be doing that.
You don't know about this. We talked with Kyle. We're going to give you a project later today.
That's fantastic.
And
keep
Jim
on coming.
Will be the first person to sign it. We're going to do a black board with a white or a nice metallic marker. And everybody who comes on the show is going to sign and autograph that.
Fantastic. So it's a great idea.
You will be, obviously, the founder and originator of Royal Flush. You will be the first originator of the signature. And that's going to be your project, by the way, for later today.
Well, that's fine. Just keep the projects coming, John.
Yeah.
Keep them coming.
So we will definitely have you back on, Jim.
I'm going to tell you something. I've thoroughly enjoyed this, Kyle. I really have. I thoroughly enjoyed it. I never thought it was going to be like this. I didn't think for.
So we'll have you on for more updates. We'll do more question and answers. We'll do more picking your brain about what we're doing, what we're planning for the future.
Fantastic.
But thank you for today. Thank you for everything you've
Thanks
done
for having us.
For Royal Flush. Thank for me and my family. You're a great father-in-law. You're a great business owner. We appreciate it. And that is the end of our first official Royal Flush podcast.
Okay. Thank you very much, and I appreciate it. What do you think?